What's going on YouTube? This is the third part of the reloading series. We're going to be making the reloading animation in this one and then also implement it into the code. So when we click a key, it does the animation in the game. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to do, let me delete that, is I was going to explain this a little better to anyone that's like new. Unreal maybe don't understand, but like I know I said in the second video, this is like apparent. I mean, it's not apparent, but we're going to be duplicating this pose. And so if you have like multiple guns in your game and you want each gun to have their own animations and stuff like that, you would need to make a new static pose for that one. So you need to make a whole new static pose like we did in the second video for that new gun. Because once you have, for instance, if this was one of the guns in my game, I'm gonna go ahead and do this because we're gonna do this anyway. We're going to right click on it and hit we're duplicate, and we're duplicating, and I'm just gonna name this reload. And this is what you would do. So for instance, if you had like multiple types of reload animations for this specific gun, you would just duplicate the static pose, and then you would make those sequences as that animation, but you're still using a static pose, because when you make the reload animation, you want to start from the pose that the person's holding the weapon or the character. You want to start from that pose and also end at that pose, because if you make a new static pose and it's nowhere close to how it is beginning to end, it's not going to look like it's supposed to. So I'm just explaining that for everybody that may not understand why we're doing that. So now if we open up the static pose reload, which is what I named it, I'm then going to take all these tabs here and dock it to the left. And I'm also going to go to the window and get the viewport that we also were using in the second video. I'm going to dock the viewport 1 or the viewport 2 here and the viewport 1 here. Now, if you didn't watch the second video, you're just watching this just to create an animation. The reload animation, you already have like your rigs and stuff set up. Make sure you do not edit in this viewport, and make sure perspective here, we click on camera actor, so we're looking through this camera. Just make sure you don't edit in this because it'll move the camera off the mesh. So first thing we're going to do is we'll zoom in on the timeline and we'll start making the animation. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to go 5 keyframes forward. Now, depending on the type of game you're making, the style of it, if it's more animated, if it's a more tactical, game, like a tactical shooter, it's going to be dependent on how fast the reload animations are and how, I would say, aggressive the animations look. Like, for instance, like when we make the the force of the mag, like when you pull the mag out the gun, or like putting the mag in the gun, you have like a movement of the gun, so it looks like you're pushing an object into another object, like in real life. You can make that more aggressive, so it's more like cartoonish animated, or you can make it less aggressive so it's more realistic, and I'll show you that when we get into that part of the video. But depending on the times between each part of the animation is going to vary depending on what type of style you're looking for. So I like to just have my end of my animation at a specific range, and then I'll move it if I need to, but I'm gonna keep it on 30 for now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the timeline. I'm going to go to the right hand by clicking on the right hand IK, which is here. Now, before we start editing and making the pose, we're going to add a spacing, or a spacing, whatever you want to call it. And so what the spacing is going to do, so if you notice, if I click on the right hand here and I drop it down, you see we have our locations and our rotations. So if I were to move the rotation Y, you can see it goes up and to the right. It goes to the right and up. And that's what we don't want. We want it to, when we move a specific direction, we want the gun to only move that specific direction. and that would be, you know, the world space. Because right now we're moving in the local space, and we don't want that. And even if we click this on and off here, which that would be the wrong way anyway, it goes, I think that's the opposite way, isn't it? It goes the opposite way? No. Oh, that's the Y. That's the Z. No, that is right. So it goes down to the left, and then we switch this. Maybe it was down the left. I don't know. It's incorrect. So whatever way you're moving it, it's not moving the correct way. So to fix this, we're going to change the spacing by going to animation and spaces. And as you can see, it's on parent. We want to change it to world. So now if we come back, that is incorrect. That's why I wasn't doing that. Let me hit Control Z. Make sure you're on 0 and then come back over here and go to world. And then now this, you see this new rectangle appears, the blue, and now we're in the world space. So now if we move Y, you can see it's only moving forward and back by moving the numbers either higher or lower. And the way I'm doing that is I'm just hovering over the numbers, hold and click click on your mouse, and then just move left and right, and it changes the numbers. And as you can see, the X moves only in one axis, which is the right, and then Z is up and down. And also the roll and stuff is correct. So this is the way we want it. And this is what the space does. It just changes how you're rotating, you know, your bones and stuff, and what space, you know, I guess of the world, or if you're, you know, I don't really know how to explain it in any other way, but like you're in the world space, so you're moving in the location rotation of this world. But if you have in parent, you're moving it according to the mesh itself. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go 5 frames. Now you can do 10 frames, whatever. I like to go 5 frames and then go from there when I'm like start making animation. So I'm going to go 5 frames, and I'm going to rotate the gun up, and I'm going to tilt it. And then when you're editing here, you can change the world and local space in this thing, but so it changes like the direction of where you can move. Because sometimes maybe you need to move straight. You can change it here, or you can come over here and do it that way too. But I want to move it up some. So this is going to be the pose of, you know, bringing the gun up. And then I'm actually going to put this on 6, not 5, because I'm going to go half of this 6. So what I'm going to do now is, as you can see, when we move the specific rotations and location, it's only saving those specific axes that we're moving. But the ones that are not moved, it doesn't add a keyframe. So I'm just going to go to the hand R and just hit the keyframe here, so then it adds all the other ones. Now you don't need to do scale and all the other ones, but you could just add the one that's missing, but I'm just going to do that for now. So now we have where it comes up. I'm going to actually make it come up a little farther, and I'm going to tilt it probably like that. And then I'm going to go 3 frames. Now, if you have a more robotic type of, you know, your character or a robot or something, this is, you know, that's great. You can keep it like this. But more realistic, when you pull a gun up like this, it's not going to like go straight up. There's not going to be like no movement in between there. In, you know, real life, there's going to be some movement in between. It's not just going to go straight up. So if we go to, I'm going to go half of this part of the animation, and I'm going to drag the gun forward. So then when you bring a gun up, you'll have like this little bit of movement. So it's like bring it up. I might even bring the gun back some, so there's a little bit more movement. As you can see, it's like you're pushing momentum up or forward and up, like you're actually bringing it up, like kind of gravity is like pushing it down. So it kind of looks like that, which is how I want to keep it. And then after we do that, we're going to click on the left hand. Now the left hand, we do not have to add a spacing. But if you aren't using left-hand IK in your game, you probably do want to put this in world space, like we have the right one. So when like you're moving the gun and doing things with it, it'll be a lot easier. So now I'm going to just rotate the hand as it would be like when he's grabbing the mag right before he's about to pull it out. I think something like that's pretty good. Now I usually like to put the hand in the position that it needs to be, and then I'll come and get the, I think this is the thumb. Yeah, it is. I'll also put the thumb in the right location that it needs to be in. Because by moving the thumb, you know if the hand is in the right spot. So by moving the thumb, you'll know if you'll need to move the hand to readjust. So I think that's pretty good. I'm not going to do the other fingers yet. I'm going to do them after we're done with the animation, or doing the other parts of the animation. And then now we're going to add a constraint to the left hand, which is going to be constrained to the mag. So when we move the mag bone, the hand is stuck to it and goes wherever we move it. So you want to make sure you're on the end of after he has his hand on the gun. Actually, before we do that, well, it doesn't matter. We could do it after, but we'll just do it now. So if you actually scan through what we have so far, you'll notice that his thumb is like clipping through the gun and his hand is like really close to the gun. So if we go like halfway, even the same position as when we push the gun forward, and just move the hand out from the gun, you'll see that it makes it look a lot better, because it makes it where it looks like he's actually taking his hand off the gun and then putting it on the mag, which is what we want. And you can spend more time with this. Like obviously right here is clipping through. You can spend more time like moving the thumb and stuff like that to get it right, but you don't really see it if you have a faster animation. And it's just, you know, this is the tutorial, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. So now if we click on the left hand itself and we go to the animation and the constraint here, over here besides selected, there's this plus icon. We're going to click it, and then we're going to click on parent. And you might have a drop down symbol, or it might be red like this. It doesn't matter. Just hover over the gun over here and click on it, and you'll have this list pop up, and you want to choose the mag bone, which is where the static mesh mag itself is connected to, is parented to the mag bone of the gun. And it adds this new constraint tab thing here. And if you go back to sequencer, you'll see this green. So this means there's a constraint here. And so now when we move the mag, the hand will follow. So now what we need to do is, I'm just going to remember, what was 6 frames. If we come down here, let me drop the arms down. You go to the mag skeletal mesh that we added. It needs a control rig. So we're going to do the plus on the skeletal mesh. Come down to control rig and add an FK control rig. And this is just a control rig it's like a simple control rig, so we can have it. We can move the bones inside of the animation. And as you can see, we have the control rig here. If we drop this down, I'm going to go to 0, and I'm going to go to the mag and add a keyframe there. And then I'm going to go to the end here and add a keyframe here. Oh, wrong one. So it stays in that position, which it should, because there's no movement of it. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go 5 frames, and I'm going to click on the mag, and I'm going to put it in the local space, and then I'm going to just drag the mag down. And as you can see, as moving the mag, the hand is moving with it, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to drag it probably there would be good. So now if I play it, that's what it looks like. And then I'm going to go 5 more frames. And then I'm going to rotate it and drag it out of the frame so you don't see it, which is something like that. Actually, before we do that, we need to drop down the mag, and where we added the keyframe of the gun coming down, or the mag coming down, I'm going to hit the keyframe on the bone itself, so it adds all the other keyframes, so it stays in that position. And then I'm going to go those 5 extra frames and drag it out of the frame. That looks a little better. And before we move on, I'm going to copy all these frames by just holding left click and dragging and highlighting them. They'll all be blue. I'm going to Control C to copy them. And then I'm going to go, I'll say 2 frames. So then it kind of like holds this pose before it pulls it out. So it's like that. It's kind of like a small delay, and it just makes, the animation look a lot better. Now you can make it 1 frame, 3 frames, whatever you want, just play around with it to how you like it. I actually might make it go back 1 frame, because even 1 frame does make a difference. I think that's fine. We'll keep it there. And then I'm going to also hit the keyframe on the mag here also to lock all those other location rotations. I'm then going to go 5 keyframes and copy the end keyframes, so then it holds like this pose between taking the mag out and then when we put it back in. I'm then going to get the location of the mag being in the gun. Just go 5 frames and put it there. So now we have pulling the gun out, he puts the mag in. And so then we're going to make putting the mag in look a little better. So then I'm going to copy the frames of the mag being in, and I'm going to go back. Let's just go 3 frames. I might actually move this out so we can get this right. So I'm just gonna move this out for here. And then we'll say 1, 2. Five frames. And then we're going to put, when we're over these, we're going to make sure we have the mag selected. I'm going to drag the mag down, pull it back some, maybe not that far, and maybe pull it over here and bring it up a little bit. And what we're going to be doing, what I'm doing here is making it where like it's a struggle, like a kind of a struggle to put the mag in, like where he hits the gun and then puts it in. Because if you have it where it just goes from bottom to end, it doesn't look as good. It doesn't look realistic if you're making a realistic one. If you're making a more animated or like not realistic type of reload system, then you could do that. You know, it's a reloading animation, but I'm doing more realistic, and this gives it more, I guess, characteristics or whatever the word is for it. So he's going to bring the mag up. It's going to hit the gun, and we're going to copy this and paste the keys. So it's kind of like a standstill, and then he's going to bring the gun in. And before he actually brings it in, we need to copy the pose and bring it down to here, because it needs to hit the gun, slide over, and then push up, as you can see here. And then I also might make it come down some. I think that's pretty good. And that's all we have to do with that. Now we can start editing the speeds in between to make it the same speed, because when you're making the animation, you kind of want the animation to be the same speed throughout, so it has a flow to it. Because if you have different animation speeds, it's going to feel off, I would say. So I'm going to make it a little faster, the animation itself. So so what you have to do is, like, for instance, I'm going to move the distance between here and here. I want it to be faster, so I'm going to move these keyframes, but I also need all these keyframes to move with it. So I'm going to highlight all of them and then drag it back, so it speeds that specific. And then I'm going to speed this up because I think that's a little slow. Yeah, I'm going to put it to 4 frames, so for 5 frames. I might drop this down to 2 frames. And also drop this one down. Make it a little faster. I think that's pretty good. Now we are going to go back to the arms, drop the arms down. We're going to go to the right hand, and we're going to go to these keyframes here, copy them, and then right when the mag leaves the viewport, I want to paste that there, and then I'm going to go right before the mag's about to come back up to here, and I'm going to rotate. We're going this way. Might drag it out some, bring it in, rotate a little more. So then we have like a, so it's not like a static same pose. It has some type of movement in, and also, like, you know, turning the gun will make it, you know, in real life, you know, make it easier so you can see more of where the mag is going. I'm gonna drag it this way. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Make sure I'm on the same frames. I think that's pretty good. And then I'm just going to add this keyframe that's not there here. And then what we're going to do now is add, so when you pull the gun out, we're going to add like some force coming down, kind of like you're pulling on the gun. So we're going to go the keyframe before he pulls the mag out, and we're going to copy the rotations and locations of this frame, and then the frame that he pulls it out, I'm just going to rotate it down a little bit and drop this down. Now, and as you can see, it's going to do like a little drop down. Now, like I was saying earlier, depending on your game, if you want a more animated, you know, cartoonish, you would make it really, you know, drastic, you know, like really aggressive. But for mine, it's more of realistic. So I'm not gonna make it as drastic, but I'm gonna make a little bit more movement like that. It might need to rotate a little more. Like that. That's pretty good. And then we're gonna go to where he's going to be hitting the weapon and then also inserting it. We're going to add some movement there. So if we go to right before he hits the gun and copy this pose, which is the pose where we tilt the gun, and then right when he hits the gun, do the exact same thing. We're going to rotate it and go up some, and then we're going to copy the pose that's before that. Let's say 2 frames, and then we're going to go keyframe before he inserts it and copy the first pose, and then right when he inserts it, we're going to rotate it and push it up, and then go 2 frames past where it drops it back down to normal. So it has like it's like you're hitting the gun, and then when he puts it in, it's like moving the gun up. And then obviously same thing we did there. If it's more cartoonish, you would make it more aggressive. I think I'm going to drag it down some. And then this one, drag it down some. I think that's pretty good. And then after we do that, I'm then going to go to the same distance that it takes to bring the gun up and the same distance to bring it down. So I think it's what, 6 frames. And then I'm going to come over to all the rotations and the locations and copy them from the beginning, and then go six frames and put it or paste it. And so now it's the same speed to go down as it is to go up. So it's same speed in between. So now if we play it, I think that's pretty good. Now you can change, like if you think it's a little too fast, you can probably make it go 1, or you think it's too slow, you can go like 2 or 3 frames before. But I wouldn't do anything like crazy where it's like a lot of frames where it's way slower than any other part of the animation. Because like there's some, I think, we'll see, there's 6. Like from here is 7. So like even doing 7 is fine because you have a frame in between here that's 7. So it wouldn't make it look bad. But if you went like 5 frames, it's going to be very noticeable. So I think it's pretty good. And I didn't say this earlier or in the second video, but if you put your keyframe slider thing somewhere, and if you want it to play, you press space. I forgot to mention that. I probably should have thought about saying that in the beginning of the video because it's something I've been doing a lot. But you press space to play the animation. I think that's pretty good. And before we add the hand to be back where it needs to be at the end, I'm going to start editing the sequence, or editing in the sequence of curves to make it a little bit more polished. So what we're going to do is the right hand is mostly where we're going to be editing everything. If we click on the location X, come up here to sequence of curves. As we click it, as you can see, we have the curves here, and these are the keyframes and the locations of them of just the X-axis. So if I drag this over to one of these keys and I take the key and go down or up or left and right, it's going to change that. But I would suggest only moving up and down. Well, actually, no, let me take that back. You can move them left and right. What I was trying to say is if you want to move in a specific axis, an axis. So you would click on it and hold shift and then move up and down. As you can see, I cannot move left and right by holding shift. But if I want to move left and right only, I'll hold shift and just move left and right. So whatever way you move first is the axis going to be on. Not, you can move left and right with these. That's not what I meant to say. So, and if something like this happens, it's because you're not selected on the location. So if I click it, we're back here. And so what you want to do is, I don't really edit the locations too much, because when you edit them like you do all the rotations, they have like a sliding motion. Yes, it adds motion to the animation. But I don't really like editing them too much, but like I do edit them a little bit. But if you notice, if I move this, it's sliding left and right, which is not a natural type of thing. Like, but you know, I'll make a little bit adjustments here and there, nothing too crazy. Just to have a little bit of movement in between so it's not straight. I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the Y. I just add a little bit of curve here and there. Now this, I'm just going through here. I'm not really focusing on anything like I will be when we edit the rotations. I'm just making it where they're not straight. So I'm just gonna go in between. Now you can edit these and it can add more detail to your animations. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't edit in this, because it could definitely add more detail, but I usually just use the rotations. And I just move like all these just a small bit, so there's just a little bit of movement. Obviously these little bitty movements are not going to be seen because it's zoomed in so much, but it does add a little bit. And then now into the roll, which is the rotation. So this is where I usually take my time. And how you use the curves, it might be a little confusing at first when you first start, but curve. So like for instance, if we go to this keyframe here, so this keyframe is at the keyframe of the gun going up. If we drag this keyframe down, you'll see this is all it's doing. We go up, it rotates the gun left. If we go down, it rotates the gun right. So when I'm usually editing in the curves, I'll like skim through and like, okay, the gun's going up. I kind of want it to like move, you know, a little bit that way, and then make this go up. Oh, make sure they're not selected at the same time. So then there's like this little movement of like, okay, he's bringing the gun up. There's like some momentum going to the right, and then he's going back to the normal pose. So it's like, it just gives it a little rotation. Now, yet it is really fast. Because it's, I think it was like 1-2 frames. Even, you know, we could remove that keyframe and only use this one. Now, as you can see, you kind of see it. It's very subtle, but it goes from, actually, I can make it exaggerated. You know, it is kind of aggressive because it's not that many frames, but like it does add a little bit of movement, and doing that throughout the, you know, all of these keyframes, the pitch roll, y'all, adds a lot more movement to the animation and more polished. So he's gonna, I actually might drag this down and make this one lean more. It might be, I think that's fine. And then I'm gonna go just where he turns, may turn a little bit more. And then I could rotate it. And then when he hits the gun, it could rotate it some more. And then it's going to go back up because it's going to be like a rubber band. So it hits it and rubber bands back the other way. And it also gives it like a little shake, kind of like a vibration, like it would kind of be like. And then here, and we also could move this over. I don't like that. The other way's better. Let me look at something real quick. Oh, I forgot to do one thing here. So when he puts the gun in and comes down, I want to copy these frames. May go 2 frames, and then I'm gonna put these here because that's 6 frames. So it's like, so it's like a stop, kind of like a delay in between. So then if we go back to the roll and sequence of curves, here's the stop. So now if we move this up, you see you have like a little bit, you can make it like that, or even just so it has a little bit more movement. I'm going to actually bring it up a little bit. So then when he puts the gun in, it does like you see this like little bit shake here from this key to this key. So it gives it like a little movement. Because like when you put the mag in, the gun's not just going to go straight up. It's going to have some type of tilt because of force. Force is not going to just be up and down. Even though you're pushing up, you're going to still have some left, right, and also roll to the force, which is like that. I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to go to the pitch, do the exact same thing. So when it goes here, so this is going to be the distance of the gun going up. So it could be, this will make the force of the gun by pulling this down will make it even more aggressive. I actually might move or just kill that keyframe. Not kill it. I'm thinking I'm playing a video game. I'm going to delete the keyframe. Not kill it. I'm going to delete this keyframe. I don't think we need it. And like, you know, when you're going through the keyframes, you'll know like, okay, do I need this keyframe? Do I not need it? I think the distance that it takes to go I think it's pretty good. And then I'm going to add this up some so there's like more movement in between here and here, because it was kind of like stale, but like making it, you know, more aggressive. Now I could add a keyframe here to make more movement, but I'm just going to bring this key up so there's more a slope, so there's more movement. And then might drag that keyframe over. And then the same with this one. This is where like the gun is like being pushed up. That looks pretty good. And then I might bring that up. And then I'm gonna go to the yaw, do the exact same thing. That's way too much. I don't really need that keyframe there, so I'm just gonna delete it. And then I really don't like the way the turning here is. I feel like it's a little slow, so I'm gonna just drag this keyframe down so it's has more movement in between here, and it's not like a as you can see, like there's more movement, maybe a little too much. Something like that. I actually might make this a little bit more subtle. I think that's pretty good. Another good tip also is when you're editing like the different rotations, locations maybe, if you click on one and hold control on the other, you want to, you know, I mean, I know in this video I do have it this way because I'm not getting in a lot of detail of the animation and making it as polished as I possibly can, but this is just a tip. So when you're making the animations and stuff, and your roll, your pitch, yaws, all these, you want to have, you know, some keyframes not in the same time. Like for instance, like, you know, either one or even 2 frames. 1 frame, 2 frames makes a big difference. So like if I like obviously, you know, this keyframe is not the same. Those are the same, those are the same, those are the same, those are. So if I were to take, even if I take the roll here and I highlight all these, if I were to, I'm trying to get as close as I can without moving too many frames. If I were to go over, right, just one, moving every single one of them, and then if I put it back, there is a difference. There is a slight difference, and that slight difference does make a change in how it looks, and it could be better, it could be worse. But it's just like the yaw. If I go here, those are not the same, those are the same. So I might even do it in this tutorial. So I'm just going to do this. This would be like the drastic way of doing it, just moving all of them. But you would want to take your time with each keyframe and move, you know, one at a time and edit one at a time. And then I also might take the pitch and move, let's just move it back and see what happens. As you can see, it gives it, It gives it a slight difference. It looks pretty good, but I don't like the way the mag comes out of the gun. I think I might keep this one default. I might move the roll. See what this looks like. We'll just keep it like that for now. Like I said, you can take your time and play around with it to make it the way you want it. So after we have that, we basically have the animation done. I think it looks pretty good. And so now what we're going to do is do the rest of it by placing the hand on the gun and then like moving the fingers to get everything the way it needs to be. So we need to click on the left hand here. And then we're going to go to the keyframe from the right hand right before he's about to start dropping the gun back to default. I don't know why there's two keyframes here. That shouldn't be there. And so we're going to go, I was just checking that out. We're going to go to that keyframe right before he starts dropping the gun down. We're going to click on the left hand, L, left hand. I don't know why I said left hand L. I mean, that's what it's called, but you go to animation and then this symbol here with a diamond with the plus, we're going to click on it, which is, if we go back to sequencer, it's going to remove the constraint from the mag and the hand. So then after that, we can put the hand back on the gun. As you can see, it's no longer following the mag when we move it. And then we're going to go to the end where the gun will be sitting at. And we are going to go to the beginning and copy the rotation and locations of the right hand and then paste it. Why is the right hand? Oh, I think I accidentally said the wrong thing. We need to copy the beginning. There we go. I think I copied these instead of set for the end. So copy those. And now they should be in the same location. Obviously the thumb is messed up. We got to fix that. But now we have that. Now what we're going to do is click on the left hand, go to animation. On the constraint, we're going to add another constraint. Parent, click on the gun. And I'm going to do the left hand IK, which is the IK socket. Now, if you don't have a socket, you don't have to worry about this. All you need to do is just copy the left hand locations and then fix your fingers, which is what I'm going to do after I do this. So now it's constrained to the left hand. And then now if we come over to the locations, we're going to zero them out. Do not zero the rotations. Rotation, keep that the same. And so now it is in the location, the handle is in the location of where we have our left hand IK that is on our skeleton mesh inside of it. So now if we play animation, this is what it will look like. Now the same thing here to here. You can go halfway and then move the hand away from the gun some so it doesn't clip through the gun. And then now we can start editing the fingers. So those should be correct for there. And then when he grabs the gun, which is, let me go to the, there it is, the constraint. And then I'm going to start editing the fingers so they're actually gripping the mag. Now you can skip this part because this is all I'm doing is just doing this. I'm just putting the fingers, wrapping them on the mag so it looks like they're actually gripping it. And doing this also will give the animation look more realistic, and then also give it an extra, you know, part of the animation that you can see that adds to the animation. So now if you look over here, let me click off of that so we don't see it. You can see he has his hand grip here, and then his hand kind of like balls up. Now you could add in between here, like somewhere like right here, like open the hand up, which would kind of be like you would do in real life. But what I might actually do, now that I said that, I'm going to just copy all of these and paste them halfway so his hand is still open. And then as you can see, it grips the mag when he gets to it. And then it's going to keep the hand positions all the way. So we're going to copy these. Until here. And then I'm going to copy the open hands. Let's see, like a couple frames after. So it's like he's opening it up. And then it grips the gun again. Something like that. And then also the finger here. I see a lot of people do this. I don't really pay no mind to it. I don't really do it, but you can do it still if you want. So when he brings the gun up here, I'm going to take the trigger finger and pull it off of, oh, not that. Pull it off of the trigger. And put it, oh my goodness, and put it right here, kind of like he's be clicking the button. Obviously, you're not going to see that, but you will see the small detail if you're really paying attention, that his finger's not in the, even when he turns it, his finger's not in the thing. And then I'm going to copy these, put it there, and then I'm going to, right when he's bringing the gun down, I'm going to just copy these three and paste it there. So his finger's now in there. So as you can see, like that small little time, you can see his finger come back into the, where the trigger's at. And that's pretty good. You can also, if you want to have more detail in your animation, like you can see the elbow is moving here, but you can make, you can add like more movement into it if you want to, just to have a little bit of movement. It's not gonna be that noticeable, but it will add detail in it. So I think that's pretty good. That's the way I like it. So now I'm going to drop everything down, and this one was what, about 39 frames, so that's pretty decent. I'm going to now click on the skeletal mesh character itself, right click, bake animation sequence, find where I want to put it, and I'm going to name this, not that, I'm going to name it weapon reload body, because this is the body part, because we're gonna have to bake the gun itself also. So I'm gonna just name it body, export animation sequence, click on the gun, right click, do the exact same thing. I'm gonna click on weapon reload gun and export animation sequence. As you can see, it makes it, and then I'm going to save everything. I'm going to close this tab. I'm going to close the viewport too, and then I'm going to go to third person character. But before we do that, we need to make an action input, and we'll do that. We're going to go to the inputs folder, the actions, and search input action, and I'm going to name it I_reload. I'm going to go back to input in the IMC default. I'm going to hit this plus beside the mappings and then look for the I_reload we just made. Click on this drop down, click on the mouse icon. It's going to hover it yellow, and then click R on your keyboard. I'm going to save it. And then in the third person character or your character's blueprint, I'm going to look up reload, and the I_reload is one we just made. I'm going to look for a blueprint called play montage and also play animation. And we're going to get our current weapon variable and get our weapon mesh, which is our skeletal mesh of our weapon that we're spawning in the game. And that's going to be our target. And then I'm going to plug this into start. And then we need the mesh of our body to be the mesh component for the play montage. And then we need to go to where our montage or our animations are. And then for the weapon, the body, we're going to right click and go to create in a montage. The gun, you don't have to do that because this is just animation. It doesn't have to be a montage. Now you can put a montage in here, but I'm just going to keep it as animation. I'm then going to open up this montage, and at the point that the hand is coming off the gun, so right here to go to the back onto the gun from the mag, I'm going to where the number 1 or the track, and here I'm going to right click and do add notify and click on new notify, and I'm going to name this reload done. Oh, I didn't hit enter. Make sure you hit enter. And it's going to add this new notify here in the timeline. Just going to save, close that. Okay, so now we're going to add a custom event, and I'm just going to name it stop IK underscore whatever. So now we're going to go into our animation blueprint, into the event graph, and we're going to look up the name of the notify we named in the animation montage, which mine was called reload done. So then once that's is hit, so once the timeline hits that marker, it's then going to fire this off. And so what we want to do is I'm going to take the stop IK, I'm going to set it, and then when I press reload, I'm going to set it to true, because in this project now, if you don't have an IK, you don't have to worry about this. You just can plug this in. But if you're using IK, you need to do it. You do need to do it this way. So when we press start for the reload, when we press R, it's then going to use this part of our animation, which is without the left hand IK, which is what we want. So the actual hand can detach from holding the gun and then grab the mag and reload the mag. And then once the animation itself, which we need to put them in here, so that one, and then the gun, once the animation hits right here, this marker, it's going to fire this off, which what we need to do then is get the character and get the stop IK, and it's going to fire this off, which is then going to fire this a custom event off and turn this back on or off of it. So then the hand goes right back to this same IK position that it was before it started the animation. So now if we hit play, if we press R, you can see it is now playing the animation we just made, and the hand is going right back to the same IK. This should be the end of the reloading series. I'm probably going to make walk, running, idle animations with this project in the future. But we have made a static pose. We've done a modular rig, and then we also have done an animation without even having to use Blender or Maya or anything. And so yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.